Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary or SITREP for the day of 558 to 559 for the 4th to the 5th of September. And this time round, the SITREP is now back to behind the paywall, and this is now exclusive again. This is due to algorithm issues and long videos that is somewhat boring, to many people, because there is a lot of details in the SITREP, and this makes people bored. And when it makes people bored, what will happen is that they will not watch more of the video, and as such, it causes a problem with the algorithm, and YouTube may not want to push it as much. It was the same exact reason that I decided to put it behind the paywall for the first time, and this time round it looks like I have to do it again, because the last time I decided not to do it because it causes a huge income disparity, revenue disparity. But by now the viewership has dropped by so much to the point where it doesn't really matter that much, and I could have just put up other forms of shorter videos to make up the income. So as a result, I'm gonna do the SITREP as usual, and then we will do the conclusion. I haven't done the conclusion for over the past few days because I was doing this edited version of the SITREP, and this time around, with this new format, then I can save time on the post-production, and I would just crop out the conclusions. So I will do the conclusions again, which is the for the superficial people, and then I'll cut it out and post it publicly, whereas this SITREP, the full detailed technical SITREP, will be behind paywalls for you guys who really cares about specific detailed information, and then you want to make your own conclusions. So this is important in that sense. Is this information fee? Yeah, this is new. Okay, cool. Let's start off. Yeah, and also let me know, you can feedback me also, what do you think about me being more ASMR about the voice, because this actually takes lesser energy for me. It's actually more of my character to actually be a bit more gentle. Then usually I get a bit too use the excited voice, and I think it's actually very tiring for me. So let's start off with the cross-border fighting. There is a Ukrainian attack this time around into the Bryansk region again, near Podivote, and this is Podivote, this area here, and the Ukrainian forces attack this area here into Podivote, as per reported by Ryba, and they say that they try to penetrate, and then after that, in the later post, as you can see, around 100 over posts later, they have some more additional information. So they say that they attacked and met resistance from the border guards and forced to retreat. However, one of the Russian soldiers were killed in this shootout. So this shows that there is actually real fighting between the two, and the Russians are indeed making attempts to stop these Ukrainian forces, and this resulted in this shootout. This area here, there's a lot of forest, and probably most likely the Ukrainian forces has entered through the forest region to attack. And of course, if they're in the forest, it's much harder to spot even with drones and whatnot. So they managed to push back the Ukrainian forces. There is no clear indication so far. I haven't seen that any of these Ukrainian troops got killed. The only one that I see is, as per this Ryba report, that one Russian soldier died in this assault. And we move on to the southern front. At the southern front, this is Kherson, and the southern front at Antonovsky Bridge. This is Antonovsky Bridge, and the Ukrainian forces landed more troops into Dachi. So according to Ryba, on the 5th of September, they reported that 2 DRGs landed with 2 boats, with 10 soldiers each, so around 20 soldiers. The Ukrainian forces then hide underneath the bridge. So after landing, they quickly hide under this bridge, and to avoid Russian artillery that was shelling them from afar. And this shows that the Ukrainians are still at this location, and the Russians have still no ways to eject them from this region, despite that there isn't really a need to, because just by this artillery bombardment, these Ukrainian troops are going to suffer a lot, because resupply and everything is going to be very, very difficult, and they can't really expand out, and there's not much of a supply line leading to this place. Another place, over at this region just off Pistepne. This is Pistepne, and the Ukrainian forces still have a presence near Pistepne. According to Ryba, the pro-Russian source reported that they are still, fortifying these positions, and they are equipping a stronghold. So this continues to be a problem, as per usual, just like Dachi, but generally it's not a threat given the low number of troops involved in this area here. It's just like, like a mosquito. The mosquito can't really kill you, but it's just very irritating. So move on to the Zaporizhia front. So this is the Zaporizhia front. At the Zaporizhia front, we have fighting continuing around Robotine and Verbove region. And we have significant changes in terms of the front line. As you can see, the gray zone is tremendous. This gray zone is huge with the Ukrainian claims around here. So the gray zone in between these two places is very, very big. And we have some interesting information. Russian Defense Ministry reported continued fighting around Robotine region, and Ryba actually reported that the Ukrainian forces counterattack. Interestingly, they actually backtrack on further previous points where they say that the Ukrainians withdraw from Robotine. Now they say that the Ukrainian forces are unable to enter to fully capture Robotine. So that puts into a lot of questions about this situation over here, so Ryba reported it's not able to secure, the Ukrainians cannot secure the settlement. Very, very weird. Whilst everyone else is talking about fighting in the south of Robotine. Miroshnikov reported that the Russians tried to counterattack in the south of Robotine but did not work out. And whereas we have Ryba the day before talk about fighting in the south of Robotine. As I mentioned, they turn around of their narrative, or maybe the things just changed. And DPA UA also reported about fighting near Robotine. There is rumors about the Ukrainian forces capturing this stronghold over here. This stronghold is quite big. This stronghold takes up this entire space, and a lot of claims on the pro-Ukraine Twitter talking about the Russian forces capturing it, but there is actually no visual confirmation of this thing, this capture. Any videos that comes out is either not correct or it doesn't really show anything. So we shall continue to wait, because capturing this stronghold is very significant, because if the Ukrainians can capture this will create a strong foothold and allow them to, as a stepping board to attack towards Novoprokopivka. So, however, tentatively, we have no confirmation of Ukrainian forces capturing this stronghold over here. There is a geolocation of Ukrainian troops at this position. They got shot by Russian forces, and this actually confirms that at least this part of the map is correct. It's still under Ukrainian control. Allegedly, one of these commanders has died, which is why this is a company commander of this 47 Brigade that was killed at this position. Furthermore, we have fighting reported northeast of Novoprokopivka. This is reported by Miroshnikov, and then Miroshnikov continued to expand on it, talking about there is fighting on the 5th as well. So 4th and 5th, the Ukrainian forces are attacking the northeast. DPA UA also mentioned about fighting towards Novoprokopivka. So the Ukrainian push is in this direction. They are attacking from the northeast and then from Robotine. And then there is this possible claims of them capturing this stronghold over here. So tentatively, fighting is still ongoing in this area here. The Ryba's mapping is very interesting. Their mapping also includes this entire region into gray zone. Gray zone meaning that it could be Ukrainians cannot hold this position here, or it could be that the Russians are managed to push all the way up here. So the all this is very contradicting the information. There's high chance Rybar is not correct in this sense, given the tide of war is still on the Ukrainian side. So we shall continue to monitor and see how this goes. And over at the Verbove region, there is geolocation of more Ukrainian troops getting bombarded. And this time around, this geolocation of this video at this position is Ukrainian soldiers getting evacuated. So it does show that the Ukrainians did able to penetrate to around this area here, but they are unable to hold their ground. So making this a gray zone. And the fact that they are able to continue to come to this area here do suggest that at least part of this trench lines or defense lines are captured by Ukrainian forces. And if you look at Ukrainian mapping, they shows that this entire area here is under Ukrainian control. So that suggests that they have penetrated through this area here towards the western part of Verbove. So let's see how this goes. And fighting is definitely reported towards Verbove, Rybar. Deep State UA mentioned about this. Marashnikov also. Then Deep State UA also continue about talking about this on the 5th of September. So that is the situation over at the Orikhiv sector, with the Ukrainian forces attacking from Robotine towards Novoprokopivka, the northeast of Novoprokopivka, and towards Verbove. So not very special. It's a continuation of their current offensive, and the Ukrainian Defense Ministry also continues to talk about them trying to have a foothold on the places where they have conquered, and this part of the operations too in the direction of Melitopol. So that is what the Ukrainians are saying. Moving into the Velika Novosilka sector, this Velika Novosilka, we have reinforcement being reported near Prione on the 5th of September, reported by Rybar, and they say that the Ukrainian forces are gathering here, so maybe they are planning something to attack into Prione. There is shelling reported at Makariivka, which suggests that the Ukrainian forces might have some gathering of forces here to prepare for some offensive action, but they got discovered and then got bombarded. And over at the south of Uruzaine, we have the fighting being reported near Uruzaine. According to Rybar, they said on the 4th of September, the Ukrainians tried to attack, but they lost several armored vehicles. And the Russian Defense Ministry on the 5th of September reported probably the same event, but they only say that these are all DRGs. They are saying that these are sabotage and reconnaissance group. So depending on what you want to believe, the Ukrainian forces attacked, and it seems like the Russians still have a very strong control around this southern part of Uruzaine. There is changes in terms of the front line here. The Russian forces seems to have attacked in this area here and managed to capture a tree line around here, just on the eastern part of Uruzaine. And this is actually mapped by Surya Maps, so it does seems to be this situation. And then over in the Donetsk front. So we are now into the Donetsk front. At the Donetsk front, the Ukrainians launched a major offensive from Zolota Neva and Prishystivka towards Novodonetsk and Novomayosk. And fighting is being reported by Rybar. They actually went into details about how the Ukrainian forces attacked over 3 different times, and this information is corroborated by Surya Maps. I did a video on this. You can go check it out. I posted it on DPA War, and there is also fighting reported, I think, north of Novomayosk. So basically, it is the same report, just that the way how they mention it is different. Rybar talk about Prishystivka, so Surya Maps talk about north of Novomayosk. So probably it's the same thing. It's simply just like this. Surya Maps mapping also very interesting. They actually shows that the Ukrainians also attack from the west of Novodonetsk. So the attack is come from 2 different directions. This is something that the Ukrainians have already done before. It's not something new. The Russian forces over here are the Marines, and they managed to hold the line. And there is geolocation of this fighting with the front line over here. There is a drone footage of Ukrainian tanks getting destroyed at this position. This is posted by pro-Ukrainian journalist Julian Ropike. I don't know how to pronounce his name. So Julian posted this and showing that the Ukrainian forces got destroyed at this position. So it also do suggest that the Russians' front line is more or less around this area here, with the Ukrainians trying to push in this direction and then get destroyed, most probably by anti-tank guided missiles. So this actually kind of established the front line a bit, and which means that the information from Miroshnikov and other sources talking about Ukrainians getting very close to Kermanshah might actually be wrong, given this is the case. Or it could be that the Russians have some kind of counterattack, while the Ukrainians gave up their offensive and managed to hold a more forward line by the Russian forces. So that's all from this western part of the Donetsk front. There is shelling also reported at Voleda. According to the Russian Defense Ministry, they say that they've inflicted fire attacks on Voleda, and this is also actually reported by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. They say that it's airstrike. And there is a geolocation by Surya maps of Ukrainian forces over at this industrial area here, and this actually confirms that the Russians did indeed retreat all the way south of the river, of the Kalashkar River, into Pelivka. So this was a long time ago, weeks ago. Our mapping have not changed, so this is just a corroboration through this geolocation. And over at the Novo-Mikhailivka region, in this area here, the Ukrainian forces is reportedly attacking south of Novo-Mikhailivka. This is reported by Surya Maps. However, given the mapping that we have, it doesn't really change our mapping. It probably Surya Maps catching up on certain information that I caught that, but he didn't manage to catch, probably from Deep State UA. And over at Marinka, there is a change in terms of front line. Deep State UA actually showed a further advance by the Russian forces at Marinka, and they managed to capture a new line, and the Ukrainians are holding out in the very, very last part of Marinka. They are almost about to get pushed out, and this fighting is the fighting is reported by Ukrainian Defense Ministry Miroshnikov, and so Miroshnikov actually talked about this as well. He said that the Russians are advancing in Marinka, and the Ukrainians are unable to keep the ruins for a long time. So then he talked about some chest thumping thing about how the Ukrainians are able to hold the Russians for so long, and so the Russians are making good progress in Marinka, and probably we might actually see the end of Marinka, the Battle of Marinka, in the week or two to come. And over further up north from Marinka, Ryba reported that according to certain reports, the Russians are moving towards Krasnohorivka. So we shall see what is this about. There is not much information, because I think for Ryba also this is some kind of like a rumor. So it's more like a rumor. So treat it as such. Over at the Andriivka front, this is at the Andriivka front, which looks like something. There's fighting being reported by Deep State UA at Nevelsky as well as Performansky. However, the Deep State did not really mention who is attacking. They only claim that there is clashes. So take this with a pinch of salt. I based on the latest reports of who is actually attacking, and the last attack was done by the Ukrainians, so I put it as Ukrainian. There is geolocation of Ukrainian forces over at this position by Z Archive, a pro-Russian source, and the Ukrainian forces are in this industrial or maybe school or base, or I don't know what is this, and this actually changes our front line, showing that the Ukrainian mapping is actually correct, that the Ukrainians actually might actually have this map position, and so we have updated our mapping to show this change that the Ukrainians are actually at this position. There is fighting reported near Vasily, according to the Russian Defense Ministry, and not much to talk about because we don't really know much about anything here. And let's move on to the Bakhmut front. So this is Bakhmut city. At the southern part of Bakhmut city, the Ukrainian forces continue their offensive actions We have fighting reported towards the south of Bakhmut, at Klishchiivka, Andriivka, south of Andriivka, and Ozeryanivka. So the Ukrainian Bakhmut offensive is still going very, very strongly. Fighting is reported at Ozeryanivka on the 4th of September, according to Myroshnikov. And however, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry talk about Russians attacking towards Bilahora, and very, very unusual. As usual, Ukrainian Defense Ministry might be just projecting. Now there is Deep State UA and Surya Maps talking about fighting at the railway track. And so according to Surya Maps and Raiba, their mapping looks a bit like this, with the Russian forces holding around this railway line. And the Ukrainian forces are unable to break through Andriivka directly because the Russian are holding the position very well. So the Ukrainians are actually trying to attack from the flanks and probably head to the south, to the rear position of Andriivka. And at Klishchiivka itself, there is fighting reported at Klishchiivka, according to Myroshnikov, Russian Defense Ministry, Surya Maps, Deep State. And according to the mapping by Surya Maps, it shows that the Ukrainians have captured most of Klishchiivka already. So they are now nearing 2/3. They are already 2/3 control of Klishchiivka, with the Russians continuing to capture a whole position in a very small part of Klishchiivka. And this is always going to happen, given that the Ukrainians have control of the high ground. But talking about the high ground, Ukrainian Defense Ministry still mentioned about the Russians attacking Klishchiivka, and there is reports from Ukrainian Defense Ministry, Surya Map, talking about the Russians fighting and attacking in the northern part of Klishchiivka. So the Russians are pushing, while the Ukrainians are pushing deeper into Klishchiivka. The Russians are attacking into the rear from the north of Klishchiivka. So let's see how this goes. Interestingly, there is a disputed video, a geolocation of some soldiers surrendering. It is unclear who is surrendering to who. Some say it's the Ukrainians surrendering to the Russians. Some are say that the Russians surrendering to the Ukrainians. So, but regardless what it is, we're not sure. And then we have interesting information. On the 4th of September, Ukrainian Defense Ministry and Myroshnikov both reported about Ukrainian forces conducting offensive operation towards the south of Bakhmut in the direction of Opitne, over here. The Ukrainian forces are attacking in this direction, and the Russians are shelling them or firing at them from these high buildings and from Bakhmut itself. So this offensive is not reported on the 5th. So it might be abandoned, it might be stopped by the Russian forces. So that's it from the Bakhmut front, I guess. Oh, there's a bit more. In the northern flank of the Bakhmut front, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry on the 5th of September talked about the Russians attacking in the area of Zalynyansky. So this is Zalynyansky, and the Russians are attacking somehow. So we shall see. This is the first time in a very, very long time that we have seen Russians on the offensive over at Zalynyansky. So that's it from the Bakhmut front. We move into the Sivers front. At the Sivers front, there's nothing over in the southern part. The fighting mainly is at Bilohorivka. The Ukrainian Defense Ministry and Myroshnikov both talk about the Russians attacking at Bilohorivka. However, Surya Map actually says that the Ukrainians actually managed to counterattack and actually semi-entered this filtration plant again. So this now becomes a gray zone, with the Russians probably pushed back a bit. So the fighting around this region here continues to be, pretty like a multiplayer computer game, like a first-person shooter. They just stuck fighting in this map here, and they are just continuing fighting around this area here. And that's all from the Sivers front. At the Crimea front, we have fighting reported in the Serebryansky forestry. And according to Surya Maps, there is some changes in terms of the Russian front line, and it looks something like this now, with the Russians seemingly taking more and more grounds around this area here. So let's see how this goes. The Russian Defense Ministry simply mentioned about fighting Ukrainians attack at Dibrova and at Torske. So that's all we know. The Ukrainians are attacking in this direction. And over in the north, we have a geolocation of Russian forces by Deep State UA at this position. This actually confirms that the front line is actually still around here. The Russians do have control around this region here on the western part of Sheveno-Popivka. And that's it from the Crimea front. We move into the Sviatove front. This is Sviatove front. This is Sviatove. At the Sviatove front, we have continued heavy fighting around the Novoyehorivka region, and with the Russian forces attacking in from the north and from the south. In the southern part, it was reported by Surya maps showing the Russian forces are attacking in the southeastern part of Novoyehorivka. The town itself is disputed. The Ukrainian Defense Ministry just talked about fighting at Novoyehorivka. The Deep State UA talk about fighting in the north. So I think most of the fighting is actually in the north. This is where most of the fighting is actually happening. And that's about it over at Novoyehorivka. There is a rare instance of Russians attacking towards Stelmakivka. According to Ryba, this reported on the 4th of September, but it was not reported again, so it's probably just a one-off raid. So that's all for the Sviatove front. And there's nothing to report over the Kupiansk front. The entire front line has went quiet, with the Russians already given up their Kupiansk offensive. And so that's it. This is the SITREP. So now I'm going to address the public, the rest of the people about the conclusions and the change in the SITREP. And so this is the conclusion for the SITREP of day 558 and 559. So the Ukrainian forces are concentrating their effort over in the Orikhiv sector. We've continued fighting towards Novoprokopivka, Robotine, south of Robotine, and Verbove. There is some conflicting claims. With Ryba reported some kind of a defense of attack that caused the Ukrainians to not able to fully control the southern part of Robotine. However, we also have conflicting information, because the pro-Ukrainian Twitter is buzzing with claims that the Ukrainian forces has captured this stronghold over here. This is a very, very big stronghold, and this stronghold is needed for the Ukrainian forces to actually continue their attack from Robotine towards Novoprokopivka. So, however, despite all the claims, we actually do not have a clear videos or photos or whatever to show that they indeed have captured this position. I have seen comments talking about this, but honestly, there is really no clear indication that is the case. And so I do urge people to to hold back a bit and wait for more confirmation. And Ryba's mapping also is a bit weird. They show that the Russian forces have the gray zone all the way up to this position. So I'm not sure how they come to this, but we shall see how this goes. And the Ukrainian forces continue to push through. There is claims that they have taken some parts of this trench line around here, or that could be actually tiger thieves. And there is some possible claims. I believe I saw one geolocation, but I did not map it. I saw it on Twitter that there is some destroyed or some videos of Ukrainians getting attacked around this area here in the western part of Verbove. So situation is still very vague around this area here, and there is geolocation of Ukrainian forces getting evacuated at this position. So that also shows that the Russians still have very strong position around this area here, that the Ukrainian forces cannot break through just yet. So that's all from this area here. There is also Ukrainians launching a massive offensive on the eastern part of the Velika Novosilka sector. The Ukrainian forces attacking from Zolota Neva, Prashestivka towards Novomayoske and Novodonetsk. And so this attack have not worked out. But we do have drone footage of some destroyed Ukrainian tanks reported by Julian Ropike. I don't know how to pronounce his name. And so the destroyed vehicle is here. And this does shows that this is actually where the front line is, and this actually shows that the Russians are actually having a much advanced position that was previously claimed, because we do have claims previously that the Ukrainians have got very close to Kermanshah, and this seems to be not accurate. And in fact, Surya maps even show that the Russians have some push in the eastern part of Uruzhaine. Ukrainians still tried to push at Uruzhaine here, but did not work out. So this is a very, very awkward situation, I would say, around this area here. The Russians are shelling Voleda, so not sure if the feeling I get is that the Ukrainians have gathered some massive force around this area here, and they are really trying to try again around this area here to make this massive break and to attack. They did try Mikhailsky, then after they tried Shevchenko, and then they tried this area here, but it seems like nothing works. And I think this is actually a very bad idea, because if they have all these forces, they should have deployed them all the way into the Orikhiv sector and reinforce the attack at Verbove and Robotine. They should send in the reinforcement into this area here and launch bigger attacks, and then to create a front line that they can actually hold better. Now this problem now is that the salient is like this. This salient is very, very dangerous, because if the Russians are able to send huge force around this area and then close up around Novodanilivka and Malatomashka, the entire force will be encircled. So if you look at this area here, the Russians have very strong positions around Novoparovka and around Kopani as well. These are all very strong positions. If the Russian forces see an opportunity that the Ukrainians seems to be overly weak in terms of securing the front line. So because you have to understand that the fighting is not just in the front. There is Ukrainian troops that is holding sentries and defensive positions all along the entire front line. And if there is any situation where they realize there's a weak spot, the Russians can actually make an offensive and push towards Novodanilivka, and from the other side, they actually push towards Malatomashka. And if they do this, the entire Ukrainian forces in the south will be stranded. This entire force here will be stranded in the encirclement. And this is going to be disastrous for the Ukrainians if they are unable to, push out to secure the flanks. They need to secure this flank in this way. And this size here, this is just not enough. It is very, very, very dangerous. So, and another thing about I think for the pro-Ukrainians you need to know is that every time the front line gets stretched, so this front line is now this long, it's actually different from when the front line is actually just like this. If you look at the distance, if the front line is just like this is like a 15 kilometers, 16 kilometers front line. But now the front line is actually much, much, much more longer. So let me point out, it's double the length. It's like 33 kilometers now. And you need troops to be guarding every part of the front line. There needs to be troops gathering all around the front line to hold the front line. Because if you do not hold the front line, then the Russian forces can just break through at any point, and that would collapse the entire operation. And this doubling of the front line due to this bulge here, this salient here, is going to be needed to be held. So even if the Ukrainians say that, like we do know that the Ukrainians did not have all the Leopards getting destroyed, but they cannot have all of them destroyed, because you need some of these tanks for defensive operation. So which is also why we are seeing lesser of the tanks, the Leopard tanks getting used in the offensive, because they need them to be positioned in the various places to help out with the defenses. So they need to be positioned in the different locations. So this is the main thing that I want to highlight, because it's not just about we have 100 tanks, so we're going to push all 100 tanks in this direction. It doesn't work that way, because you need some to be here, to help to provide fire support for your frontline troops that is defending this various position. Some of them, they may be gathered around Novodanilivka or maybe at Malotomashka, and they'll have to be sent on a raiding or defensive operation. If the Russians try to do an offensive, they need to be deployed as a reserve armored force. So it's not just every tank is used for offensive. By right, there's earmarked for that, but I think the Ukrainians also kept losing troops over the course of the operation, and this actually means that they need to bring back some of them. And yeah, so that's the situation right now for the Ukrainians. Kupiansk offensive has totally died. There is totally no offensive at all. No reports of fighting around the entire Kupiansk front, and the Russians are concentrating on Novoyehorivka. So the Russian forces are continuing to push in the north and the south flank of Novoyehorivka. I'm not sure about the middle because they didn't mention much, but it seems like most of the fighting is in the northern side of this Novoyehorivka region. The fight for the high ground around this area here. I will do a separate report to report more about this attack around here. Otherwise, the Ukrainians are concentrating their effort in the Bakhmut front in the southern part. And I think the most significant was two different things. One is the reported fighting towards the south of Bakhmut, with the Ukrainian forces reportedly attacking towards Opitny direction. However, this was reported only on the 4th. It was not mentioned again, so I'm not sure what to think about it. Probably get abandoned. The other one that is significant is that the Ukrainians seems to be went all the way to this railway line. The Russian forces are holding their positions around this railway line, and this actually protects Andriivka because it provides some kind of a cover for the Russians to continue to reinforce Andriivka, which the Ukrainians failed to break through, and they are now trying to go from the flanks. And this is currently what's happening. They managed to reach the railway line, but seems like it's still very hard fight over in the Andriivka region. So anyway, otherwise, there is some cross-border fighting. The Ukrainians raided, and then there is still Ukrainian forces over at Antonovsky Bridge. There's still forces over here at Pistepny, all on the southern flank, southern shores of the Dnipro River. So basically, this is the summary, and this is the conclusion for the SITREP. And do press the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next update. And also, no. So the for those that are wondering where's the SITREP is now behind paywall. I have decided to put it back because of algorithm issues, and if you want to watch the technical SITREP, you can become a YouTube member. By becoming the YouTube member, you'll be able to see this SITREP. So anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next update.